Hey guys, it's Tiara back again with Raw Unfiltered. For those who don't know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and normally we have fun on the show, we talk, we laugh, but today is going to be a little more serious. I do want to bring awareness to domestic violence. There's a lot going on, and people really I don't think people know the true story behind when stuff happens, and they look at it sometimes I believe that it's starting to be a norm, and it's really unfortunate. Today I have Dominique here with me. She's going to talk. We're going to share her story and just give a little insight of what goes on with a domestic violence survivor or someone who maybe didn't have help and have an outlet to have somebody to talk to. So, Dominique, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So tell me, you are a survivor.
Yes.
That's good. Um,
Very good.
how long have you been? How long has it been
It's been about a year now.
that you haven't had any?
Yeah, that I haven't
Okay.
had any incidences and have been out of the situation. So yeah.
Okay. So how long were you in that situation?
I was in that situation for some years. Like over 5 years in the situation. It wasn't like always extremely active and happening every single day, but it was like on again, off again for a good amount of time in my life.
Okay. So the first time it happened, how did what happened to lead to that? What? Tell me about the first time it ever happened to you.
I feel like it started more so. It didn't start more so with physical stuff. It
Mhm.
started with like little mental stuff. And I was really young. I want to say I was maybe 16, 17 years old. It was just like a very mental situation where it's like I didn't have anywhere to stay. My parents had kicked me out. So I was like kind of homeless and I was staying with this guy. And they have power in that situation, so
Right.
it's like, oh, I'm going to kick you out, I'm going to take all of your belongings. And when you don't have somewhere to stay, your belongings are very, very important to you. And he just like took them all out and threw them all like on the ground, like trashed all my stuff. And I just remember like how hurtful that situation was.
Mhm.
And my reaction probably wasn't what it should have been. It was kind of like I was upset with it, but then it was like then came like the nurturing from that person right after that, and I kind of was like, oh, okay, like no, you didn't really mean it.
Right.
And I feel like it escalated from there. Then it like became physical and stuff like that.
You made a really good point. People think domestic violence is only physical.
Yeah.
It's not. It starts emotional, it could be mental, and then it leads to physical. And when people notice those signs from it being emotional or mental, they just think, oh, he's having a bad day or he's just, not in the mood. But people fail to realize that in itself is the beginning of that leading to it being physical. So when it started emotionally with you, did you even have an idea that it would get physical or like
No,
have you ever showed any like signs?
no, he had never showed any signs, even though he did grow up in a household where domestic violence was kind of something that was acceptable. He always expressed to me like how much he was disgusted like by his father's behavior and just stuff like that, and how much he felt for his mom, but at the same time she stayed in the situation. So for me, being young, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's strong. Like you would never want to do that because you grew up in that type of household.
Right.
So I never expected that our relationship would get physical or anything like that. I did not see that coming.
Right, and it's unfortunate when you're dating someone and they have that in their family. So you would think like, okay, they see this, and you would think that would be opposite, that they don't want to, reciprocate that onto you. But 9 times out of 10, that's when it triggers down. So if their father does it, they do it. Then they're gonna have a son, and possibly their son is gonna be, you know what I mean, like to do it
Yeah.
too. So you guys have a child together, correct?
Yes.
Has it ever been in front of your child, like?
Yeah, we have had incidences in front of my kids, and I feel like it's hard to deal with that as a woman and as a mom. Like, it's one thing to accept it for yourself
Mm-hmm.
and not even realize you're accepting it. You just stay in the situation. But I feel like once you bring kids into the situation, it's happening in front of them, it takes a whole different toll on you as a woman. It's
Right.
like, oh, I don't want this for my kid. I don't want my kids to think it's okay. I don't want your other kids to think it's okay. And it takes a bigger toll on you now, because like I feel like it made me very depressed, like as a mom, and also in my field. I do support counseling, so it just made me feel like, how am I able to like counsel these people on how to raise their kids, and I don't necessarily feel like the best mom because I'm allowing my kids to see this type of behavior. So yeah.
So now with that, the first time it happened, I'm pretty sure it was, oh, it's not gonna happen again, type thing.
Yeah, I feel like it was this strange situation. Like, we didn't really necessarily acknowledge it so much in one way or another. Like, we had a habit of just, the situation was over, we're just going to move past the situation. We're not really going to talk about it.
Okay.
Which is also just something more so about me too, is I'm very passive. I let stuff build up until I can't take anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just didn't even really want to discuss it. Like, it happened, don't do it again. I'm telling you, don't do it again, and I just want to move past it.
So did you not want to discuss it because you were hurt, embarrassed, unsure? Like, why didn't you?
I feel like it was more so embarrassed, and the more so of me as a person, especially with the field that I work in, not wanting to acknowledge what it really was defined as. I never wanted to acknowledge that, like, this is a situation that outside people looking in, they would feel like I'm in a domestic violence situation. Me, in that moment, I just felt like, he gets really upset sometimes. He puts his hands on me. It turns into like a fighting type situation. I never really sat back and thought of it as like, I'm in a domestic violence situation and my life is in danger and like, I need to get out of this right now. It took me a long time to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what made you like realize like, okay, so it's just not that he has an attitude and he's upset and he gets angry here and there? Like, what made you realize like, okay, this is a domestic violence situation. To save myself, to save my kids, like, I'm gonna have to get up out of here?
I feel like it started to get to a point where, I don't know, I had this thought of like, once we got married, things were going to get better. Like, we would get married and, things would not be in that way anymore. And this was just like the magic solution to all of these problems. And I feel like it didn't get better. Like, that title didn't make it any better. The situation any better. I feel like it made it worse because now my senses were more heightened too. Like, I'm more emotional about it because I felt like this was going to be the solution. It wasn't. So now I'm even more heightened to the situation. Like, this is supposed to fix everything and it didn't fix anything. So now I feel even worse because I'm still going through this.
Right.
Yeah. So it just got to certain lows where certain things were happening in front of the kids often. I'm like, oh, I don't really like this. I don't really like this. And, despite how physical we had got in the past, I was someone who was lucky in that I didn't have bruises. It wasn't like I'm going to come in and I'm going to punch you in the face. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it was more mentally difficult for me to realize the situation that I was in. I felt like you snatching me up or, you choking me or throwing me against the wall or, calling me out of my name. To me, it didn't feel like domestic violence. It didn't feel like that was the situation I was in.
Coming from your husband.
Yeah, it didn't. It just felt like we're having disagreement. It got heightened. It got into a heightened situation. But it happened so frequently, and it started to get so intense that I started to realize, like, okay, no, this is a little bit more than that, and I need to like be able to acknowledge it because I really my daughter would like physically get upset now, like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, she felt like she had to choose. And I feel like as a mom, even though I feel like I can handle this, even though I may not think it's a domestic violence situation or that it's that bad, I don't have the right to choose that for her. That's not what I wanted to choose for my daughter. So it became, even if I think I can handle it, she shouldn't have to handle it.
She shouldn't have to be in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Sides, right?
Yeah, she shouldn't have to feel like, oh, I have to fight my dad because, my mom's not safe, or, oh, my mom's like, I don't want her to have to, choose at all.
Now, did you ever feel like it was a point where if he was able to, like, maybe, like, physically take your life, did you ever feel like you were in that much danger? Or was it just he got upset, he may have put his hands on me, pushed me, hit me, and then it'll go away?
I feel like in my mind, I always felt like it would go away. I feel like it got so serious towards the end that I would feel like it didn't matter what I felt like his intent was anymore. Like, that completely went out the window. It just mattered of how serious it was getting. So even though I don't ever think that he would intentionally, try to kill me or try to like physically hurt me that bad, at that point, all of that was out of the window. Because when we're in that moment, you never know how quick it can go from, oh, I just wanted to snatch you up to make sure that you understood what I was saying, to, oh, I snapped your neck, or, oh, you know what I mean? like you never know how serious it can get. And I feel like that was kind of my breaking point. Like I finally had like scratches on my face and, you know, scratches on my body or, you know, just different stuff like that. And I'm like, I can't be in the situation anymore because it's just, I realized what it's like becoming and what it is.
So when that moment happened and you felt like, okay, like this is not what I want, this is not what I can do for the sake of you and your child, like how did you remove yourself from that situation? What did you do? Like, how are you feeling? How did that happen? Because I know it's not the easiest for people to just walk away, especially because you guys have a kid together.
Yeah.
So that in itself, like you guys, regardless of you splitting up or not, y'all still gonna be connected because of the baby.
Yes, I feel like that made it difficult. But I always said I'd rather have her have two happy parents separate than to have two toxic parents in the same in the same household, and for her to have to experience that day in and day out. That's just not something that she should have to experience. So when I made that decision, it kind of really more so came from realizing that nobody was going to be able to help me but myself. It really have been incidences where it's like, I'm, you know, screaming for help, get off me, I'm not trying to fight, I'm not trying to do this, and people are just walking around. Like, they're just walking around as if nothing is happening, as if this is a normal behavior to have. Like, oh no, they're just fighting again. Like, no, it's not just we're fighting again. Like, this is serious. I don't want to be in this situation. Knowing that no one was willing to help me made me realize that I had to help myself. Right. And not a lot of women can make that decision. If no one's willing to help them, a lot of women will stay in that situation. It'll get worse, you know, and they might have their life taken. So I feel like that's kind of why I wanted to, you know, share my story and my perspective.
You know, it's funny that you say that because some people may know, some people don't. I myself, I'm a survivor as well, and I was also in a situation where I was asking for help. No one was there to help me. But it was like, you see what's going on. You're not stopping what you're doing to come and take that initiative to stop what's going on between us. And, you know, I ask myself over and over, like, why didn't this person help? Why didn't this person do this? Why didn't this person do that? And it's like, to this day, like, I'm over the situation. It happened years ago. I'm moved on. You know, I'm in a happy relationship now. I'm okay with talking about it. But I still don't understand why people on the outside don't help. Like,
I feel like violence in general, especially, you know, verbal and physical towards women, has become normalized over the years, just from, you know, social media, movies, things of that sort, that we're kind of I can't think of the word right now, but we're kind of numb to it. It just seems normal. And we had that whole, I feel like we took the whole, like, no snitching type thing and made it into everything. Like, it doesn't matter what the situation is. It's not my problem. It's not my place to step in. It's not my place to intervene. And if I'm doing so, then I'm out of place. And I feel like we kind of got to get away from that. In the moment, if somebody needs help physically and it's like, you can intervene, I feel like that's something we need to do. Like, having that bystander effect is something that we need to work on unnormalizing, because it shouldn't be normal to just walk past a woman or whoever in the street who's, you know, being victimized,
right,
and think it's okay.
Especially considering the fact that, you know, like I said, men are also victims of domestic violence. That is more so hidden than it is with women, because guys feel like, oh, I can't go tell this person or tell the cops or tell my friends that my girl is beating up on me, because, you know, men are much more prideful than that. They're not going to want to be able to sit there and look somebody in the face and say, oh, I had this black eye because my girl did it, or my wife, or, you know, whatever the case may be. And that in itself, I feel like, is what you said with the no snitching thing. Yeah. Like, you're in a dangerous situation, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman. It doesn't matter, because it still happens. Yeah. Regardless, you know?
Sometimes if you go through that situation, sometimes you might pick up habits that you never had before. You might not be a violent person, and because all you've been experiencing is violence and it's become a normal behavior, now when you get into certain situations, you feel like it's acceptable to lash out, you know, physically, whether it's that same partner or it's somebody that's new. So I feel like acknowledging the issue that's at hand, getting help, talking to people about it definitely is important, because you don't want to, you know, to lose yourself or display that behavior yourself. And it's hard. It's hard when you're going through it, because sometimes you don't even realize the person that you're becoming because you're so hurt and you've been through so much. But, you know, it's definitely something that you want to work on.
You know, that's really, really good advice. You know, just to keep in mind, people, there are several hotlines. You can look them up on Facebook, on Google. Like, you can Google whatever. Remember, in Buffalo, there is, let me give y'all that address one more time, 95 Franklin Street, room 220. Go there. It's people here to help. You don't have to go through it by yourself. If you know somebody who's going through it and you know that they're afraid, be that outlet for them. Help that person get out of it. But again, they're not going to do it if they don't want to do it for themselves. You can't want something for someone else. You have to want it for yourself. And once you accept that and you're ready to move forward, you will. Right? Yep.